Yes. Oh, bless the Lord. Overseer, how are you doing today, man?
It's one of those days, man. It's one of those days.
Talk, talk about
You know,
Resurrection Sunday.
you know,
I was expecting a rejuvenated man.
yeah, but I'm rejuvenated. My computer's not. I resurrected. My computer stayed dead. It looks like. So you notice there was no video at the beginning. Is because of my dead computer. But everything else was great on Sunday. Resurrection Sunday was very nice. How about yours, sir? How was yours?
Well, you're coming out of resurrection with all that power. You should raise the dead.
Yeah, I wish. I wish. I wish. I wish. I wish. Shame.
Uh, what's the point of coming out of Resurrection Sunday with all that power?
I would be enthused to do that, sir. But
Oh,
I
oh
guess
yeah.
I
Well,
don't have as much power as I would like. I guess that's what I'm guessing. I guess I don't have as much as I'd like.
well, we had
Okay.
a good weekend. I truly thank God for His blessings. I want to say to our guests, welcome to another edition of the Badman Show, and of course, resurrect. Last weekend was a complete celebration of the fact that Jesus, God loves each and every one of you, and we truly appreciate you to be on here. It's a great joy, just to come out of a celebration, knowing that because of Christ, we all have life,
And have it.
and His life is being reflected through us, and we're thankful for you all to come and share with us on today.
Amen. God is good, and we reflect on the resurrection, but I also reflect past the resurrection into the staying power. There is staying power with it, and we thank God that it's not just that He just rose, but He rose and He made sure that we had a hope, and I'm so glad for that. And we're bad men for Christ. We don't get a whole bunch into our beliefs and our thoughts on the show, but today is a day that we have to say that, at least I have to say, I'm a believer in Jesus Christ. I'm a believer in His blood. I'm believing in His saving spirit. I'm so glad that He's in my life. And I pray every day that He continues in my life and in my family and my friends. So I thank God for all those that watch, because I pray for you all for watching us and supporting us as you do every Monday at 7:15. You like us, you subscribe us, you tell your friends, you tell your family, tell your enemies, and you join us every week. So we thank you so much, and we're praying for you. God loves you. All right.
Amen. Amen. Thank God for that. So oversee always business, all the business part, because we're gonna talk about some business on tonight. So just before we bring our guest in, how are you holding up on the challenges of business? Being an
You know, I,
old guy. Cause we're
you
gonna
know,
bring a young guy in that has a lot of energy, a
yeah,
lot of mojo. So
yeah.
let's give us a feel.
You know, well, first of all, I'm going to say I hate Jonathan Manning because he has 6 businesses and I have zero. So I hate him right off the bat. So it's not going to be a good conversation with me and him, though. Just joking. I love, I, I love the brother. I know him a long time. I'm glad for his success. I think that my business is going to go to great places. The fact that it's so much, because you kind of know what I want to do. So the business is going to be a catalyst for a lot of things for the kingdom of God, and the devil's trying his very best to block every aspect of it. So I should have expected that. I should have known that there was going to be walls put up and barriers put up. But I also know that I serve a God who knocks down walls. He did it for Jericho. He's going to do it for me. So I believe that when it opens up, it's going to do a lot of great good, because what a lot of people should be doing in the entrepreneur space in Christendom, I think that I'm going to do that, because I think that if I get the blessing, I have to pass the blessing down. And the way I'm going to do it is by showing other people exactly what they need to do, how to get it done, and work with them, and they'll be part of what I'm doing until they can walk on their own. But that being said, you're a part of that thing, so you kind of know what I'm doing. So, but that being said, it is a great show that we're going to have, because we have somebody who's a young man, like you said, a young man who has been doing this and has created a great empire for himself. And we're going to get right into it. So if you want to bring him on, man, bring him in.
Hey, hi, good to meet you,
There he
Mr.
is.
Manning. Good to meet you,
Yes,
sir.
God,
yes.
man. You see this big smile? You
Man,
see the big smile, Bishop, right?
well, truly, I paid for it. I paid for this one.
That's a money smile. Hey, man.
That's somebody.
Oh man, yeah,
Yeah.
great,
All right.
great being on with you guys. Man.
Hey, man, to kick this right off, why don't you just quickly share a little bit about yourself with our listening audience? Get us started.
Yeah, my name is John Manning. I am a CEO, entrepreneur of several businesses. Actually, I have 6 companies currently now. The Table Solutions, which is my main company. That's my, the company I grew to different parts of the country. Through that, I was able to launch other businesses. Like me and my wife, we have a hair company, a hair product business called Lagisly. I opened up a restaurant called U Jerk. I have a investment company called The Table Guys. I have a social media advertising company called the JLX Group, and I have a juice company called Sip Juices. So super exciting. I love talking business. I love talking. Even in the Christian community, I love how the merge of business and the Christian faith. I think that goes hand in hand. So I was very excited to jump on with you guys today.
So you have 6 companies, and I did write all names. I hope our producers are writing them down so we can put them out there, because we definitely want to advertise for you. Can you tell us how? So you said you had the first major one. So why don't you start with the first major one? How did you get that business started? What did you do? What did you have to what were the steps that you had to go through to get that business started and to make it be successful so it could be a flagship business?
Yeah, so the thing I was sharing with people all the time, when it comes on to multiple streams of income, the thing that we have to focus on first is building one stream. I think the thing that most people do is they get caught up with the idea of multiple streams. And of course, multiple streams is very great, right? You don't want to put all your money into one thing. However, you chasing multiple rabbits at one time, nothing is really going to move. And I felt like I had a lot of business ideas and different goals I wanted to do. And I tried to do everything at the same time. And it was just a total failure. So I think in my 20s, I was more caught up in the smarts of business, right? The intellectual words and the jargons and the conference calls and the meetings. But I realized that wasn't really growing the business, right? The business needs generation, it needs money, right? In order for it to really move. So around that 2012, I kind of shifted my whole attention to focusing on growing the sales of my company. And of course, I had to go through the learning curves and the different things like that. But it was something that I separated everything that I did. I said, I'm going to focus on this one business. And every single day, I'm going to focus on increasing my sales in this business. And if there's anything that is a main focus of mine in more than anything else, is focusing on the sales of the business. And I think the thing that a lot of entrepreneurs do, they get caught up on the idea of business, or the product per se. Let's say they have a great cupcake and they want to, everybody loves their cupcake. Their thinking is, well, okay, everybody loves my cupcake, so I'm going to start a business, right, to sell cupcakes. And then their mind literally goes into business cards, website, registration, maybe doing a pop-up event somewhere, but their mind does not go too much more past that. When you get to that point where you post it on your social media feed and nobody's liking it and nobody's sharing it, because you already got all the people that bought it already in the beginning. So they like it, they're cool, but now you actually have to go sell this thing, right? That's the reason, that's where most businesses normally fail right there, because people get discouraged over things like that. And for me, that is the primary thing that I'm focused on, because when you write a book, they don't give you an award for best writer. They give you an award for best selling author, right? So well, for me, that was a focus of mine on focusing on increasing my sales every single day, getting my price points to where it needs to be, so my margins is producing profit in my pocket, of course, and then taking that money, and when I have enough of that, I can just reinvest it into something else.
So I don't know, Bishop, if you have a question, but just to kind of piggyback on that one. So why don't you tell folks though, like what age you started doing this, and then what background you have to say, yeah, I did. Because some people may say, look, man, all I got is a GED, and I used to work on cars. I don't know how to start a business. Well, so why don't you give some of your background so you can let people know what you did and how you where you came from on that?
Yeah, so pretty much my real upbringing in the entrepreneur world really started from 19 years old. I met a millionaire in Queens, New York, and I was literally
What's his name? Paul Brown? What's his name? Paul Brown?
I wish. I mean, listen, I knew you guys when I was kids. So if I was
I produce inspiration.
So I met him at 19, and literally he showed me a check for $42,000 that he made in a week. So that caught my attention off the bat, right? It was like, okay, teach me. He spent 4.5 hours teaching me that day. I had a lot of questions. I was going to school for marketing at the time. He put books in my hands that I of course never read, John Maxwell books and, Robert Kiyosaki and the things that, I was never really up on. And from there, I literally, through working with him at that period of time, and then of course working with my brothers in their businesses throughout the years, I started developing a much more sharper mind when it came onto business, because I was always in the business world from 19, right? But I went years of not making that much money. So even though we were like, me and my brother, we were selling juices, we would wake up early morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, get all the stuff, get all the fruits, make all the juices, bottle the juices, sell the juices outside, and so real bootstrapping stuff, And then, right. we were doing this every day for years, paying our bills and different things like that. But it was around 2012 where my mind really just started shifting. I started remembering some of the teachings that he told me years back in 2005. And then from there, of course, everything shifted from 2012 on.
All right, you're talking about some of those books that you have read, Rich Dad Poor Dad. All right, what would you recommend that to anyone listening on the show tonight? And what Rich Dad Poor Dad should they extract to help them move forward, whatever they're involved in?
Yeah, if you want to go to the business world, I normally, and somebody that doesn't really have the business mindset, I normally put Rich Dad Poor Dad in their hands first. That's probably one of the first books I put in their minds, because it deals more with mindset more than anything else, right? So it kind of gives you a more understanding on the reason why you probably should be an entrepreneur, or even an investor. If you're not an entrepreneur, you can be an investor, right? So, it literally walks you through the concepts of 98% of the world versus 2%. And let me give you a quick snippet of this for those that's listening. So one of the major concepts that I understood here was he has a cash flow quadrant that he talks about, right? And he says that, the E, let's say the E is here. E is an employee, S is self-employed. The B is big business, and the I is investor. The concept is 98% of the world is on the left-hand side of the quadrant, which is either employee or self-employed, right? And what I started analyzing is, if it's 98% of the world on this side of the quadrant, then that's probably almost 100% of the people that I know. Right. So that already started making me realize that certain lessons that I was taught on money or even business might not really be the right data, because it's not coming from, it's coming from good hearts, of course, but it's not really coming from people that understand how to really build the business, and how to get it going. So it's like, okay, a person goes from employee to self-employed person, which is where most people try to go. But self-employed person in Robert Kiyosaki's mind is just a glorified employee, because all you do is you just start a LLC, but you are now a employee that still works for time, right? If you don't do anything, guess what? You don't get paid. So what he's sharing is you have to get now to the 2% where, you know, you either have systems working for you, right? So if I wanted to start a pizza store, and let's say Bishop wanted to start a pizza store, my pizza store is called John's Pizza, and Bishop's pizza store is called Domino's Pizza, right? Then obviously we are having two different perspectives on pizza because, you know, I might be the only person that knows how to make the pizza. So if I'm out the restaurant for the day,
no money.
I mean, everybody. While Bishop, when he made the pizza, he's only analyzing one thing and one thing only, creating a system in place on making all these things so he can duplicate himself into more and more employees, so that, of course, he can now make his small override off of all those sales. So, and then, of course, the last thing Robert Kiyosaki says, take that money and then become an investor. So that was one of the books that kind of helped me really understand the entrepreneur, the 98%, 2%. So if you're listening and you've never read Rich Dad Poor Dad, I would definitely say pick that up. Can I give one more thing on that book? Just one more point. So please. One of the most powerful lessons that I've learned, and this is probably one of the most important things I'm going to say on this broadcast, but I learned from this book, and when I understood it from this book, I knew from that moment. Now, mind you, I read this book several times before, right? So I read this book several times before. I used to do teachings like this since 2005, but it was around that 2012 where I had some entrepreneurs I was coaching on weekends. So I told them to read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and I'm going to go through it with them and study it with them, right? And I was listening to it on my way to Nyack College. I was going to Nyack in Manhattan at the time. And I was listening to it, and something clicked that I said I would never be broke-minded again. And this is what clicked. I started realizing that there's only two ways and only two ways that a person is really going to become financially successful. Like, it's not the idea of the business. It's not everybody get caught up with the idea. That's not it. There's only two ways a person is going to become financially successful. They need money working for them, or they need people working for them. So I normally tell people all the time is, if you do not have one of those things currently, right now, you're not even in the race of a person on their way to that wealth. You might have your own business. Yes. You might have your own idea. You might have, you're selling your products that's very good. However, if you do not have money working for you, money that you take and you reinvest to make more money, or if you don't have people that are pushing your product, right, to do that, then it's not going to happen. Let's give another analogy to this, right? If I was a pastor like you gentlemen, right, and I started let's say I wrote a book today, right, and Joel Osteen wrote a book today. One of us have to do a book tour, and one of them is going home. One of them is New York Times bestselling author, just because people. You know what I mean? So that made me understand the reason why there are so many businesses that we see that might not be so great at and I tell people all the time, you can walk into many of our churches, even the churches that we were brought up, and you see so many amazing singers that can out-sing people on the radio any given day, right? And you wonder why that person never really went to the next level. It's really only two reasons. It's either they did not have money working for them, or they never had a strong amount of people pushing them. You know what I mean? So I think when I started focusing on business, those were the two areas I honed in on to make sure I focused on that.
Man, you hit it around the head.
One of the interesting things that, along with that, as we're going to kind of get off of the Rich Dad Poor Dad book, there's also the cash flow game. People should really, I mean, if you are really interested in moving forward with business, you need to play the cash flow game. You really need to invest that $495, actually get that game, play that game, because it changes your mindset in how you look at funds. We see a question we have over there, but just before the question, I was listening to a millionaire, and just about when the iPhone came out, the first one, and he said that one of his parishioners came and says, "Oh, folks are lining up around the corner down the road just to get an iPhone. And he said, he asked, and they asked him, so aren't you going to get one? Aren't you going to join? And I said, no, I want to know what are the components of the iPhone, because that's where I need to invest my money. It's just a different change in how you think. Well, we got a question over here.
Yeah. So the question is, do you hire? And right after this question, I have a question for you. Do you hire family and friends?
Yes, I do. Right now, my brother is working with me in my main company, and he's doing very well for himself. I have several friends that I grew up with. I started my whole business with family and friends. I took my friends, I told them to quit their jobs and come work with me, and they all quit their job. They quit their jobs and moved their whole livelihoods to Cleveland, Ohio, with me.
Wow.
But yeah, I definitely do. The thing that you have to do when you hire family and friends, however, is this is where you have to talk about a system in place, right? There's a system that I have that needs to be agreed on. Like, even though me and my brother, we're working together, and I love my brother, that's my brother. But when we do business together, like there is a major distinction when it comes on to the business role of things. I tell that with my friends. I tell that, and there is a certain level of sacrifice from a leader, right? When you bring family and friends on, right? Because, especially if you're guiding them and leading them and trying to help them grow inside of your organization, you kind of sacrifice a certain level of, I guess, casualness with them in a way, because you need to like almost, I'm speaking to two great leaders right here. You guys know exactly what I'm so you're trying to guide them to obviously the next point. So I definitely do believe that. I think if you can get family and friends on the same page and growing business together, I mean, that's an amazing thing. I know people don't want to bring family and friends, but I don't treat my brother no different than I treat any other person. I don't treat my friend no different than I treat. And my wife was working with me, and my wife can tell you that I treated her the exact same way as I treated every person in office. That means when she came into office, I shook her hand like this. You know what I mean? Like, I gave her a high five. I never gave her a hug in the office. Never, oh, this is my wife. Like, if she had to lift up something, if everybody had to lift up the table and bring it there, then I watch my wife lift up that table and walk right outside. And these are things that you have to do to just make sure that they understand that they are just a part of the system here. But if they can understand that, yeah, it'll be a blessing for sure.
Yeah. So you bring in this is a great question too. But before this question, you bring up a great point about system, and I want to talk about it in a second. But let's ask this question. And I kind of know the answer. I think you all know the answer, but let's see what you got to say. How much should someone invest in starting a business?
Man, well, I mean, in starting a business, I think it's not really basically on how much money you can invest. It matters on the business that you're getting involved into, right? There's many businesses that you don't need major startup money to do that. Perfect example, my main company that produces millions of dollars a year, I only paid for an LLC or everything, and I just got a contract and I started working. I started, the small payments versus like my restaurant. My restaurant, we probably put like $80,000 into it, to get it started. So, obviously the types of businesses will determine that. I think if you're going to start a brick and mortar type business, you of course have to take the components of that. But this is where I say I focus on sales, and especially more now when I'm starting a business now, I try to think about, because obviously in order for me to have multiple businesses, I myself cannot operate all the businesses myself, or else I'm just going to be losing, right? So the thing I have to also incorporate is hiring a very sharp manager or sharp supervisor or point of contact person, paid them very well too. Like, in Cleveland, we try to start off at $52,000 a year, for this type of role. And, so I factor into all those components, and how many sales I need in order to make sure that we make our money back and different things like that. So, each and every business is different. I don't want to be so cut and dry. There's a lot of businesses. If you don't have a business idea and you just want to get involved, there's a lot of businesses that you don't really need to spend that much money to get started, but you need to make sure that you have a sales mind focus. Because if you don't, then of course you'll be out of business very soon. So.
Yeah, I think you said it right. The way I look at it is the level of business that you want to do really depends. That's where your money's going to. If you're starting a very large business, has upscale, has a lot of things already to do, retail, whether it be that or produce or whatever it is, like you said, the restaurant, there's a lot of startup money. But then you can also go in business that don't need a lot of startup money because there's not a lot to do in the beginning. But you will have to recognize that as you grow, you will have to put more money into it to continue the growth. No business is ever going to say, oh, I put $10 in it today, and that's all I'm gonna ever put into it. No, if you want to grow, you put in 10 today, but when you're making 100 every month, you may have to say, well, what? If I want to grow, I got to put 90 in now because I want to be 1,000 a month, and it's not going to go to 1,000 a month unless you change what you do. Your restaurant, if you're serving a certain type of food every day, and you want to change the pricing of the food, well, then you got to buy higher quality of food or change the menu. It's going to cost you to do that. So people have to understand that when it comes to business, the startup money really, like you said, it really depends on the business. But I want to get to systems though, because systems is something that I'm kind of trying to get understanding. You said you put systems in place, right?
Yeah.
Explain to the folks, what do you mean when you said you put systems in place? Because people may think, well, I just said that A, B, C, and D rolls out. I think you're saying to yourself, no, I have to write on paper exactly what I did. So explain so maybe I can get a better understanding too, what you meant by systems.
Yeah. So when I put systems in place, what I mean by that, save yourself significant time, energy, money, right? That's a great acronym for systems if you never heard it before. Save yourself significant time, energy, and money. When I think about putting together a system, I'm thinking about putting together something that is beyond me now, right? Like it's beyond me at this point. So perfect example, when we opened up the restaurant, I think for the first 3-4 weeks, we worked in the restaurant every single day. But my mindset working in the restaurant was, okay, we need to create a system for almost everything in here, right? That means the cash register, like I'm not working it just to work it. Like as I'm working, I'm thinking about the next person working here, right? Like as I'm making the food, I'm not just making the food. Like I'm thinking about, okay, I need to create, like perfect example. So the restaurant we have is a Caribbean style jerk chicken spot, right? And in normal Jamaican restaurants, of course, there's a major chef there that knows how to do everything, right? And like we said earlier, if the chef is not there for the day, everybody's like, no, man, where the chef that, So so for me, I was like, there's no way you're gonna franchise anything like that, right? Like, right. It's impossible. So for me, I never forget, me and my brother was having a conversation about this at the beginning. I told him, he said, who's going to learn the jerk chicken? I said, oh no, the whole staff's going to learn how to make the jerk chicken. He said, the whole staff? I said, absolutely. Everybody in the restaurant is going to learn how. So when we got my cousin up here, my cousin from Jamaica, like he makes great jerk chicken. I literally sat down with a pen and paper. You know Jamaicans, right? Throw this and yeah, man, you have to put this in there and da, 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 da. And I was like, toss this. I was like, hold on, no. So 2 spoons of that, like, and I literally wrote out detailed every single thing, even up to like the oven. Like he put the oven in at this time and put it at that time. So now what I did was I took his jerk chicken system. I created a system now that people that come in the restaurant, this is a system how to do that. And the reason why that's important, I do that for every business that I have. Like if I'm working the business, I tell people all the time, if I'm working any of my businesses, I'm thinking about one thing only. I'm thinking about one thing and one thing only. And the only thing I'm thinking about is duplication of myself. That's the only thing I'm thinking about.
Right.
Like I'm thinking about how can I duplicate myself immediately? Right. That's the only way I can scale this thing. How can I make another, take another company to $1 million if I'm the only player here? I can't be the
Right,
only
right,
player.
right,
What's more
right,
easy for me to do is hire way more people than make another John Manning, right? And
right.
John Maxwell says, listen, they're not going to be as great as you, but if
But
they could be 80% as good as you, then you're
good.
good to go, right? So for me, when I took that system, it was like, create different systems in place, hire somebody, train them on the system so they don't think that you're a rock star. And I think sometimes people want to feel like they're the rock star. I don't want to feel like I'm the rock star because I'm the rock star that has to save the day every time. Like, I want a system that solves this problem. Like, if there's an outage here, why cause the outage? Instead of me just running in and fixing it, I say, okay, cool. What caused it? What we need to do that? Let's get that down so that now we can run. Because if I'm traveling all over, like I'm traveling, then yeah. So systems is so important. It's the only way you're really going to scale your business. Is if you have tight systems in place for everything.
Wow.
All right, obviously we'll take this question because we like to as he talked about some of his business, we like to share them with our listening audience. But we have a question. We have a question from Taffinese.
Okay, so the question from Taffinese is, and I'm waiting for it to come up. It's going to come any second now. Any second is going to come up. The question from Taffinese.
I think it was how do we get people to invest? How did I get people to invest into?
Is that what that's what it was?
Yeah. Where do
you find investors, investor abs funding to start your business?
Investors ads or
investors?
Like, where do I find investors?
Let's just go with this. Where did you find investors?
Where do you get the money from? So, pretty much what I did in my main company, the Table Solutions, I created a ecosystem where the people that work with me can invest with me. So pretty much what I did, that's where the Table Guys came in. The Table Guys came in as a investment company for the employees in the Table Solutions. And the reason for that is I was sharing with them the goal that I have for everybody that works with me is for them to want to work with me, not need to work for me. I know when they come in for the interview, they need to work for me, right? They have to go pay their bills and things like that. But if I can really work with them for like 3 to 5 years, I'd rather them do this because sometimes it's hard to lead people if you're desperate for the money, right? Because now it's almost like blurred lines. I'd rather get to a point where people lead because they love people versus I need the money, right? So my thing was I need to create a investment thing where these guys can now take their money and let their money start working for them. So I started the Table Guys, and the very first idea that we had was opening up U-Jerk, which is the restaurant. And what we did was I sat down with some of the managers there, and 2 of the managers invested, one of them invested $30-something thousand, like straight out of their bank account to be a part owner of the company. And another one invested like another 10,000, right? And of course I put up the remaining. So for me, like I present those opportunities to the guys all the time. When we started up the juice company, I told them, hey, this is how much we need for X amount of the business. They invested their money, and I now take their money and go start the business. Even in the real estate that we're doing now, we're heavy into the real estate world for this year. And literally, I sat down with the whole team in Philadelphia about a couple of weeks ago, and I shared with them straight up. I said, guys, $250,000. I need everybody to gather that in the next 3 months. You know what I mean? And write down your commitments of how much you can invest in order for us to get the building. Because I've been sharing with them from day one, it's easy for us to buy this building than me buying the building, right? So if we all come together, like we can get the building, And so that was the concept of what I normally do. I don't normally go out of course, eventually I would do, like use debt to make money. That's something I'm learning on right now. How to leverage debt to get more assets. But, for right now, we have a great nucleus. We have a lot of managers that make some good money. So, I normally come to them. I share their deal. I share the deals. I share hey, this might work, this might not work. This is a risky investment, but I give a little bit more if it's more risky. If it's a sure thing, then I can, and they'll make the decisions to invest their money into it. So that's kind of what I do. And I think that's a great way. If you know a few people, let's say you have friends and family members. You can sit down with them. It don't even have to be like, you don't have to start off with some big thing. You know what I mean? There's so many, like, I was sharing with somebody the other day, you'll be shocked at what a couple of thousands can get you. You know what I mean? Like, you'll be shocked at how many business owners will give you a percentage of their business for like $7,000 to $10,000 just because they need that money right now to go do that.
That's right.
Like,
that's right. That's right.
So I know that person.
Hey, before we take this question, let us share a little bit of some of Mr. Manning's businesses. Producer, let us share some of his.
Bring them up.
You want to talk about this, John?
That looks good. Yeah. So the Table Solutions, we are that's the company that takes majority of my time. We are basically a basic sales company. I hire sales agents all across the country. I'm the middleman for a lot of Fortune 500 companies. So, some of the contracts that I have contracts with like Sprint and Verizon and Spectrum. I have government contracts. I have so pretty much a lot of those clients. I've been in the space for a while, so I know a lot of the names now in terms of those clients. Pretty much they contract through me. I employ people to sell on behalf of them. And you might see us in like Walmart, Targets. You might see us at trade shows. You might see us in different parts. So pretty much I have managers in different parts of the country, different offices that have a whole system. We interview, we train sales guys, we get them going out there. So that's obviously the main business that funds everything. U-Jerk, of course, is a super fun business. This is the business, actually. This is very funny. This is the business that made my mom actually believe that I was an entrepreneur, because the whole time she didn't know what I was doing with my life. But once I opened up a restaurant, it was like I finally got notarized as an entrepreneur. That obviously, that's the popular business. That's the one that everybody, like, it makes sense to people much more. Of course, the restaurant, that's the one that, we're the only Caribbean restaurant in downtown Cleveland. We're in the busiest intersection of downtown Cleveland. So that's the one that, of course, a lot of sports players and news come all the time, and so that's a great business. And just real quick, my wife has a hair product business, Lajasley, Lajashley. She's been doing a lot of great strides on that lately. Now she just signed a major $30,000 contract to distribute her products even further throughout the country. Did that last week. So that's natural hair product business where she's doing, like conditioners and shampoos and things like that. The JLux Group, I started JLux Group through the Table guys also. This is another investment company that we started. Pretty much one of the guys that does social media stuff. She needed more clients. And this is actually a great way also on how you can start businesses without spending money. She needed more clients, and I know how to get clients, right? She knew how to do social media. I know how to get clients. Now that's a perfect business now, right? So now we joined together as 50% partners. And we got, right now, I think in a few months, we got, I think we're up to like 25 clients right now that we're managing right now with the JLux Group. And that's growing. She's handling all the pages, different things like that. And then Sip Juices, which is very, this is actually the comical business for me, because we were having this lady that was delivering lemonades to our restaurant. The lemonades was a hit. I'm talking about, guys, like, people were going crazy, especially like the mango lemonade with the jerk chicken sandwich. It was like people was going crazy, right? And she just up one day and just said, this is your last shipment. I'm moving to New York. So I said, so what do you mean you're moving to New York? Like, I said, so what's going to happen to the lemonades? So she said, oh, she's like, I can't do it. So I literally, I sat down in the hotel room, and my son was sitting out right there. And I was saying to him, like, man, what am I going to do? And then literally after 2 minutes, I realized my brother had like one of the best lemonades in all of New York. I just said, oh man, we're gonna start a juice business. And it was at that very moment that I went to the managers. I said, I need X amount of dollars right now. I took their money and we started a whole juice business and took you jerk as our first client. So obviously making money from both ends, but so yeah, so that was that was super exciting on that. So that's what I'm working on now.
Wow.
Yeah, we have another question. We have another question. Let's not miss that one from Susan.
How long did it take you to establish a successful system before delegating the system to your team?
Man, that's a great question. Truthfully, I think that the systems are always being developed, right? Because there's always variables that might happen. It's based on the business, of course, but the systems are always being developed. I think for me, like if I do something and I get a result, then I try to transcribe that system right away. Right. So if I do XXX, and this is what I teach the guys with sales, right? So one of the things I teach them on how to get customers and how to get sales is I started going out there, and I would know things like how many customers I need to speak to get my sale. You know what I mean? So I would have those ratios in my head, right? That's the reason why I call the company the Table Solutions, by the way. But people don't know why I call it that. But the reason why I call it the Table Solutions is because success in life is mathematical, like a multiplication table, right? 1 + 1 = 2 every time, no matter which country you go to, right? 2 × 2 = 4, no matter what country you go to, right? So once you can understand that the same things that this person did to become successful, if you can figure out how to do those same coordinates, you would always find a solution. So I would literally go out there and I would say, okay, I need to speak to this amount of customers. I get this amount of rejections today. I need to work this amount of hours. So when I go train somebody, I would literally train them on my system. You know what I mean? So that it's not like just like I would say, hey, in order for you to average, keyword is average. In order for you to average this amount, you need to do that. I see my sister coming on. That's pretty cool. You need to get these amount of so the system is always being created. But once you do something and you get a result, like if you're getting the result that you want, you need to now understand what made you get that result and start training people on that result right away.
Amen. So we had a surprise for you, but the producers brought it in while you were talking, which is kind of ruins the surprise. But
yeah.
I believe we have your sister on the line with us. She's just on the phone. But Michelle, are you there?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay.
Welcome.
Well, it's always a pleasure to be with the Badman. I love the program every Monday.
Hey, you are one of our good guests. We thank you for joining us. So how are you? Are you proud of your little brother? Come on, talk to me. How are you? Are you proud of your little brother? Is he making you proud?
Of course he is. I have two questions for him. Two important questions. So Johnny, I need you to think of the answer and answer correctly now. Okay. Now, who's your favorite sister in the whole world? Start with an M.
What's the second question?
Julia says she's so expert. You plead in the fifth on that one, right?
Yeah. I just vote to the next question.
He's doing one of his systems.
Okay. Yeah. Okay. Out of all the siblings, who believe in not sparing the rod and spoil the child?
That's a very unique question.
That's great. Yeah.
I'm the young one here, so I don't really know if I really got beaten growing up. I think everybody touched me at least one time in their life, except for my brothers. But I was the baby, right? I was the baby, so.
Well, thank you so much. Thank you so much, Michelle, for coming
on.
We
love you, Johnny. I'm proud of you.
Appreciate you, and thank you for your support. Hey, before we, I want to ask you to help Deacon Albert, because he has a lot of products but doesn't have any sales. Albert, you want to put up some of those products so that you, at least are listening? Or yes, he got a lot of products, a lot of shirts, a lot of stuff. He needs he needs your help.
Hold on.
Yeah. How?
Well, the products are our products. I think helps us. We have product, you have clients, so we've got. But the problem is all the products viable, but we have great products. We have jerseys, shirts. I got a hat on right here. I took the mask off because the mask had wings, but we have masks with the hat. We've got cups and mugs. We got it all for the Badman Show, and we want to spread the Badmen4Christ there. So what do we need to do so that people will start saying,
so how do you sell it right now? How do you sell it right now?
We don't sell it right now.
No. We do sell it. We do sell it. We have Zelle. You can order by Zelle. You can call. You can place your order, and right now we're putting up a website, so it should be available on a website pretty soon. I think within the next couple of months or so, we should be able to cut over live to the website.
So let me tell you what I would do if I was going full-time product mode, and especially if this is actually something that you guys can probably think about, getting somebody that's focusing mainly on just the products, so that they can focus on that alone. But one of the things that I would do, and I teach people to do this when they pick pricing, I always say, when you think about the markup that you want to do for pricing, always include hiring a person to sell it. And I think people don't really think about that perspective. You know what I mean? Like, because you don't want to, because you got to cut into your margin in order to sell that. So when I think about pricing, I always include, okay, if I employ somebody to sell these products, like how much of that percentage I'm giving them off of this product, and that would even determine my markups. Right. And pretty much what I would focus on is I would have a person that if you really want to push it now, right? Then I mean, you can't really know if it's pushable if you don't have somebody going 40 hours a week with it, right? So I would either take money out to invest into a person to go push 40 hours and track the data for it. Do various different things. Of course, ads are great also, but you have some great products that people will buy every day. So there were some things I was looking at. You guys have products that I know, people would definitely buy, because people buy it every day now, right? They buy some of those products now, right? So, So, the thing that I wish focus on is, bold, active, determined. These are all great things, especially, Badmen4Christ. I would probably, if it was me personally, I would hit up probably majority every pastor or every youth leader and have somebody in the church that gets a commission. So it's not like they're just doing this for, the Lord's work. You know what I mean? Like, they get a commission with expectation, with weekly meetings once a week to talk about the expectation for the week. And, I'll create a whole movement throughout the churches on selling those products on a consistent basis. And
that makes sense. That makes sense.
Yeah. Yes. Eventually I would get the sales, and so I mean, you guys have great products.
Yes, that's a great system. Yes, we have great products. We don't have anyone actually doing we have the mindset to do it. As you see, Overseer was putting up his hand. We talked about it, but again, to initiate it, we haven't done. One more thing before we'll kind of run out of time, and this is a great conversation. How did you adjust your business operation? Probably your system didn't change within the pandemic times. What adjustment did you make?
Man, the pandemic was a real lesson for all of us in terms of how to grow. I mean, I opened the restaurant in the heart of the pandemic. So think about that right there. That was a big thing. You know, people would talk about how downtown was before the pandemic. We didn't even know what downtown was like before the pandemic. We opened up in July. And mind you, we opened up also that year with not only just COVID, but we were also one of the restaurants that had that got vandalized with the riots out here in Cleveland. Yeah, and then so there was a lot of just variables that you know you have to think about. A lot of the production, the sales that we did for that year. Thank God we still did a great year. Not as great as the previous year. Obviously, it cut down. I think about like 50% of cut in revenue, but one of the things I focused on, and if there's anything that I want to share with people, especially when you're weathering tough times, is get a mentor. I spend literally, and this is not hyper just throwing out there, even this year so far, I calculated this. I probably spent over $50,000 so far on mentorship. Because the thing that I realized, one, in order for me to grow to a next level, I need to be around people that are thinking at a higher level. And sometimes you got to pay money for that. Sometimes you got to hear those rooms. So during that time period during COVID, I literally had to sit down and study people that were figuring out how to navigate through COVID times and how to push through that. I had to figure out how to incorporate that into my business. Of course, we were doing Zoom meetings every day now, right? And various different things like that. So that was one of the things that helped me transition during that time period and not get to the woe is me. It was like, all right, this is what's happening. I don't know how long it's going to be, but this is the solution. If we had the restaurants open, I kid you not, I was going to have all my agents take the jerk chicken sandwich and go knock on doors all throughout downtown Brooklyn and sell jerk chicken sandwiches. We were going to figure it out. You know what I mean? So something was going to happen, but that mindset was because of the mentors I was listening to. You know what I mean? They were trying to figure out how to win during the pandemic. And thank God, you know, during the pandemic, the company still crossed the $1 million mark, which I was super surprised that year that we did that, because it felt like it was a rough year that year, right? But I feel like that really happened because of those mentors, right? Because, you know, when they were talking, I was taking notes and going to my meetings and try to implement things right away. So cheat code for all those people that you know, get mentors. Mentors is one of the things that I tell people all the time. People always ask me, hey, John, how do I start this business? And the first answer out of my mouth is get a mentor in that space. You know what I mean? Like if I wanted to be a pastor, I mean, these are two great mentors right here. Like, why would I study from anybody else? It doesn't make sense, right? Get a pastor that can show you how to be a pastor. You know what I mean? Like, you know, it's almost like saying, like, I want to be a cook, and you went to a gymnast. You know what I mean? Like, it doesn't make sense. You know what I mean? Like, if you want to be a great cook, get around great cooks. So that's the same thing I would do to cheapen business. Yeah.
And what you're saying is actually great, because when we started the show 2 years ago, I had my brother, a real critical, analytical guy, to watch the show every week and give me feedback as to how Overseer and I are blending. What is it that he's doing and I'm doing, and how to actually develop our skill set. And he came up with one of the greatest narrative. And I just want to share this again. I've shared it before. He says Overseer is like the rich white guy that drives the expensive cars. He's just flying down the highway. You know, he doesn't even care if he wrecks it, because if he gets another car, if he wrecks it, gets another car. He says, I'm a guy who's very cautious. He says, I'm always, you know, putting guidelines and certain things for the show. And the blend, and you probably see that he asks all these crazy questions. Real fine questions from me. You know, but it's actually great. But the great point that you're making again is, now we're at another stage, and we need to get a mentor to actually bring us to the next stage. So you're being a great point, because even with us, and you look at us as great pastors, both Overseer and I, and we truly appreciate that. But we have mentors. You know, we have mentors, and we're not going to go into the level of mentorship that the Overseer is privileged to to be, to get because of who he is. but you also have to, and as you mentioned, you also, and for anyone that's listening, what you're making is a great point, because folks, until you share that, a lot of people was probably scratching their heads, but don't realize that it also take investment and a lot of study, books that you have read, and mentorship. And folks just want to actually get some of these things done, without going through the hard work of going through the middle.
And that's a point I'd like to add, Jonathan. I think that, and we haven't stressed it, and time's going, but I think that you are doing great. You're a great success, man. My brother, I didn't know you were so successful. I think that's awesome. I am very proud of it. As I said, I know you from a young man. I know your family growing up in New York. And I'm just so proud of what you're doing, because you're a young Black man doing it. You have your head on your shoulders. You're not only doing it for yourself, you're also doing it for other people. You're bringing people along with you, and that's important. I think a lot of us miss that we don't bring our family, we don't bring our friends. There are people who are millionaires, and none of the people they ever grew up with, none of the people in their family are also doing well because they didn't bring them along with them, and you're doing exactly that. The one thing I would ask, I got two things, is one is, do you have opportunities for people who are listening, maybe to say, hey, I've got some other opportunities I'm doing, and if you want to invest or you want to work with me, reach out to me. Do you have other things right now going on that you have opportunities that somebody else who may want to be an entrepreneur can jump in and join the partnership?
Yeah, at this in terms of investments, not yet, because I don't normally. You can make mistakes with your people. You can't make mistakes when you're outside, right? So I think when it comes on to even like the real estate thing that we're doing now, once we understand that, then I can open up to the outside. Like even the restaurant world, we're still perfecting systems now. People hit me up all the time about franchising, but we're not even talking about franchising yet until we turn profit first, and how we get the thing moving. So, there's just things that in terms of that, it's very hard for me personally to personally mentor people myself at this time, because of course I'm so busy. So I share people to get me mentoring you have to work with me, because that's where my time is, So, but in terms of investing with me, I will 100% have that opportunity out. So of course, you can add, follow me on Facebook, Instagram. There will be a time we literally actually building a TTS studio right now, where we're going to shoot a lot of content and things like that. I'm putting a lot of money into that this week. So there's going to come a time where I'm going to share what I'm doing. That's the purpose of the table, guys. We all come together, we invest. My real goal is for us years down the line to live off of our investments. And actually, that's not even that long. I told all the managers that the other day. This is something I learned from Grant Cardone. Somebody asked me who's one of my mentors. Grant Cardone is one of the guys that I spend a lot of time around now. But one of the things that he shares is living off of your investments and not off of your earned income. Meaning that all the earned income that I make should be focused on duplicating that into something that produces me more income on a passive or residual. Mainly residual. There's a difference in passive and residual, but that's another conversation. But living off of that residual, my whole lifestyle lives off the residual, my earned income going to investment. So that's things where I'm looking to do throughout the next couple of years. And I would definitely open up if I feel it's comfortable.
Okay,
hey, let's recognize the producers real quick. Yes, that's Ken Walsh and Deacon Albert Minot. We thank you so much, producers, for helping us make this show possible. We don't want to end the show without actually really, really appreciating you. John, I also want to mention that Kawasaki also has a real estate course.
Yes.
That introduction one at 495. I took that one about 10 years ago. So, and again, it wasn't necessarily for the actual doing the stuff, as opposed to kind of changing up my mindset. So again, so that was as you're talking about real estate. All right, so we oversteer. We can take about one more questions, and we don't want to take too much of John's time.
No, I mean we're right at the hour point, so we have
right at the hour point.
Unfortunately, it was a great time, John, man. It was awesome. Again, to all of our listeners, hey, we appreciate you. Susan Thomas says, first time listener tonight, invited by mom. This was a great live tonight. Thanks for sharing your story testimony. Awesome. Thank you. Keep watching us. We are the Badmen4Christ. It's right here on my head. Badmen.
Hey, John, if you please remember that you can always send a subscription fee. We'll advertise your business every Monday.
Every week.
That could be a good idea. I love it.
Thank you for joining us. We're here.
Thank you for having us. Seriously.
8:15. We love it. We love having you. We appreciate you. Please like and subscribe to us. Tell your friends, tell your family, tell your enemies to join us every Monday, 7:15. Badmen4Christ, the Badman Show. Join us. Thank you, John. Bishop, close us and send us home.
Thank you so much again, John. Stay on after we end the show for after show talk. Thanks again, everybody. We'll see you next Monday.
Us again. A to the A to the D to the M. So sing hallelujah, revive us again. A to the A to the D to the M. So sing hallelujah, revive us again. A to the A to the D to the M. Like a Jesus, represent Jesus. A to the A to the D to the M to the E to the N.